Hi, this is Peter Fletcher. I asked a question recently on Facebook. The question was, what's your number one concern when you're buying a property? And there was a lot of answers to that question, some of which was revolved around making sure that you're buying what you thought you were buying, doing due diligence, making sure that the house is not going to fall down, there's not electrical faults, the zoning's right, all those sorts of things. But the main concerns that people had revolved around, is the property going to go up in value over the next 3 to 5 years? Or, put another way, is the property going to at least not go down in value? So am I going to owe more in 5 years' time than the property's worth? Well, that's a pretty bad scenario. The opposite of that is people love the idea of the Australian idea of properties going up in value. It is, after all, what we've become used to since I got into real estate, at least in 1985. The question is, how do you know a property is going to go up in value? Well, the short answer is you don't. But there are ways to buy a property that is more likely to go up in value. And so how do you do that? Well, for a starter, you buy in a suburb where the property, it's a livable place to live. It's a good place to live. And in 2014, Ipsos Public Affairs did some research, and they identified 16 factors that would make an area livable. And I'm not going to go into the 16 factors, but what I wanted to do is just start with the top 5 that I think is really important. Number 5 is, in my view, is education, is a quality education, especially high school education. Not everyone wants to send their kids to, private schools and, expensive private schools. Not everyone has the budget to do that. So look for a location that has a good quality high school so that long term your children are going to have good education opportunities. And the suburb I'm thinking of there is suburbs surrounding the Rossmoyne, or inside of the Rossmoyne Senior High School zone. Incredibly popular areas to live, and for just that reason, people want to buy in the Rossmoyne Senior High School zone. And it kind of puts an underpinning to demand in that area because people want to buy there so the kids can go to school there. It sort of adds that demand for properties in that location. So number 1 is quality education, particularly high school education. Number 2 factor is job prospects, and especially, is it close to where you work? If it's not close to where you work, is there a lot of job opportunities in that location? Traditionally, the CBD has been buy as close to the CBD as you possibly can get. That's been a very common thing over many, many years. It's starting to change now because of technology. People can now work from home. There's a lot more people doing that, a lot more Zoom meetings, all those sorts of things. But the thing is that people don't want to have to travel for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, if they can get away with it. I much prefer to live close to where they're working. And indeed, you'll find that if you can live close to where you're working, you're going to enjoy life a lot more than if you're having these massive commutes. Number 3 is access to natural environment. Apartment living has its place, there's no question about that. But even in places like New York, Sydney, where high density living is a thing, if you can get close to a park, close to a reserve, close to walking trails, where you can get away, get into nature and decompress, it just adds that little bit of something to the environment that it makes it just so much more comfortable living in that location. So look for that proximity to the natural environment. Number 3 is shopping, leisure, dining, entertainment. If you've got all those things in an area, all those things nice and close to you, it's such a great place to live. If you can walk to the local cafe instead of having to drive, if you can walk out to dinner, if there's a pub or night, maybe not so much a nightclub, well, if that's what you're into, yeah, great. Those sorts of things. I know in my case, we can walk to the Crown Casino or the Crown Resort, and it's just a great thing to have right next door to you. Look for something with that entertainment, dining, all those sorts of things, and a nice diverse mix of it. I'm thinking areas like Liveable, Mount Lawley, Suburb, that's sort of gone off the boil a bit. Victoria Park, what an awesome strip along Victoria Park. So much vibrancy at night, so much activity going on, so huge amount of choice. It's fantastic. So if you can find something with good dining, entertainment and shopping prospects. Number one with a bullet is, you ready for it? Feeling safe. That's right, feeling safe. People want to be able to go for a walk at night and feel safe. They want to be able to go for a run before the sun comes up and feel like they're not going to get mugged. Feeling safe is the number one factor that makes an area livable and underpins demand. People often look crime stats in an area before they buy into a place. Is why places like Peppermint Grove, Dalkeith, all those golden triangle western suburbs areas are so popular. On the flip side of that, Burswood, which is right next door to where I live and where I've got my office, is one of the highest crime rates in Perth, probably because of the proximity to the Burswood, to the Crown Resort. So just be aware that buy in an area that you feel safe at night. So they're my top 5. If you have any of your own, I'd love to hear about them in comment of your own. Always keen to learn people's perspectives on these things. Thanks very much for tuning in. Until next time, this has been Peter Fletcher.